The more we move around, the more assert bases should spawn, and the more we attack, the angrier they'll get. The problem is, we have no defenses, but we also have no choice. Because without refineries on the challenge, they're our only hope for getting metal grids for thrusters to get off the planet. So let's keep pressing on. We're on our way after another satellite because they have components we can build with, money we can hopefully use for trade, and we might get really lucky and get a metal grid or medical component. Maybe. So we'll get these ones that are accessible by Rover, try to keep improving our condition, and continue our exploring. Some silver at another crater. Again, we can't refine any ores, but it might be useful for space credit, so we'll gather it up. It's another rolly satellite, but we'll get it. No one said survival would be easy, and it was right on our way back. What's this? Our exploration and gathering trip has turned up a second dark green grass area and ice deposit. And this one looks bigger than the other one. Perfect. Between the two, we'll probably have plenty of ice for a while here on the planet. And it's not too terribly far from where we started our base. We might even do something with an automated drone to shuttle back and forth. The canyons might make that difficult. We'll think about it. But what have we here now? This is a nice little pocket in the canyon. This could make a very protected base location. We already invested some build time in the other one, but this could give us some extra coverage from the meteors, kind of like what we originally wanted. But maybe a small base by the first ice deposit is still what we need to process ice and whatnot. We'll get on back though. At least there's a second option here, which is good. Okay, this is a third satellite on this little exploration trip. A much more lucrative run than I would have thought. But I will say, the Rover makes it a lot easier than running, and this is a great planet for using rovers. Rolling terrain, not super flat and boring. I'm liking it. Alright, we got back safe and sound, grabbed a couple other satellites and some meteor silver deposits, and are finishing up this basic assembler for more component manufacturing, because I'm starting to formulate a plan for this base. I'm going to channel out this area of interior blocks for the floor and replace that with a set of conveyor tubes, which is why I finished the assembler. I'm going to need some more small steel tubes. But now I'm taking damage for no apparent reason. Let me get into my Rover. I've got my energy back, but I'm still taking damage. It's probably this storm. I guess the weather is so extreme here on Pertam, the sandstorms can't actually kill you. That was a little unexpected, but we'll have to roll with it. It's just another reason why my one and only survival kit is so important. Okay, the storm has moved on. That was a thing, but we'll continue on with my conveyor tube installation and my plans. So now I've laid out a series of the reinforced conveyors with one of the openings facing up. What I'm going to do with that is do a conversion to small grid and place some large small grid cargo containers. Now, the interesting thing about using those is that they don't use any metal grids, yet are the same size and hold the same amount as the small, large grid container I started with. Once I have all that built, I'll be able to reclaim my original 4 metal grids. I also have options for how to do the conversion to small grid, but I think I'll use a hinge. It'll take up a lot less space and resources than trying to use connectors. Plus, the hinge aligns perfectly in the voxel blocks, which will allow me to build other blocks around it. Whereas I'd never be able to get the alignment of 2 connectors pixel perfect, at least without building some even more infrastructure to line everything up. The rotor is also annoying with its displacement of the head. It just doesn't seem to automatically fit as well as the hinge. Alright, so I've got my hinges down, I've removed the original head, replaced it with a small grid head, so now to get some of the large and small grid containers placed, which is being a little stubborn. Okay, I know the problem. The small hinge head is set down a little inside of the hinge and its voxel area, so I just need a little spacer in here and we should be good. There, I fixed it. We'll get a couple of these welded up and move on to the next step, which I quite honestly haven't figured out yet. I'm really just doing things as I go in this challenge. There was no grand plan going into this. It's been a bit of discovery and just doing whatever I want to do next, or things that seem to be a next logical step. All right, we got our items moved into our new containers and have our metal grids back from our original large grid container, and even rebuilt our assembler. But we've got another health sapping storm. At least now, I know I just have to keep healing through the thing. I'll forge on with the build though, and get a nice control panel access to the base's functions. Now here, I've found the first one of these satellites. These have a single atmospheric thruster on the bottom, which what I'm really seeing is 1 metal grid. The problem with these is that if I get closer, it'll take flight and hop a short distance away. It's pretty clever. And I don't have a jetpack to chase it in the air. I also don't want to damage the thruster too much, or else I might lose the metal grid. So I'll kill the antenna. Okay, the metal grid is mine. Now, 12 more of those and we might be able to escape this planet. But this whole satellite is good times, so we'll grind it down and get back to the base. We keep catching these meteors falling all around us, so there's probably some urgency in getting all our stuff protected and whatnot. But what I want to do is to start working on this rover and making it a little bit more my own. I'm gonna figure it out as I go, but I wanted to have a walk-around interior and pilot it without using a cockpit, just using one of the consoles. It would also be nice if it was airtight, because that might protect me from the damaging dust storms. So I'll put on some proper doors. I just don't know, but I want to build it with airtightness in mind, just in case it does offer some measure of protection. And our friends the spiders are back. We'll retaliate here, but let's try to do it without hitting our own rover. Okay, so one thing I've noticed now that I'm not in a panic mode like I was before is that when the spiders are in the tunneling and emerging mode, the shots don't seem to have any effect. They just go right through. What I suspect is that they are mostly in some sort of animation for emerging and tunneling and can't be hit. And as long as I'm in the vicinity and they're unable to reach me, They're just going to keep doing that. Let me get into the base though, make some more magazines for the pistol, and see if we can't kill a couple of these spiders. Maybe that'll make a difference. No, they're still in this mode of invulnerability. If any viewers know of anything I'm missing here, let me know in the comments, because this is a little frustrating. So I wound up doing what we did before. I got in the Rover, drove a fair ways away, and just waited a bit. Now that we're back at the base, the spiders look to be gone, and we can get back to messing with the Rover. There's still one hydrogen thruster on the Rover from when it was a drop pod. I might turn this whole Rover into my ship to get to the trade station. So yeah, I'll just leave it for now. Next, I'll start gutting the insides so I can get rid of what I don't need and rearrange things for that interior space. Yeah, I can just extend this on back. I really don't know what I'm doing with it yet, so I'll grab another satellite and think about it. And look, there's my trench, and the tree where they had me pinned down in the last episode. Good times. Back on the Rover, there's one thing I have decided. I need to get the Rover raised up and move the lifting jack to the outside, even with what'll probably wind up being the outside edge of the Rover. If I keep it where it is, it'll probably interfere with positioning other blocks inside the Rover like the survival kit. I'll also finish off this bit of cowling on the front. This is here for what I think will be a glass front, and if I extend it out, it'll keep the occupied voxel space of the glass farther away from the inside of my Rover and be less likely to interfere with placing things, just like the piston. Okay, well, that's not a great view. So clearly I'm going to have to rethink things a little. I also have a feeling this Rover will go through a few iterations before I get something I'm happy with. But to see how it evolves, what we do to the base, and a lot more, you'll need to tune into the next episode. See you next time.